This is Analog and Digital Communication Systems. The course code is EC501. It has 3 lectures per week and total 36 contact hour in the semester. It has 3 number of credit points. Myself, Dr. Indranath Sarkar, Associate Professor, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering at JS College of Engineering, Kollali. It has 5 course outcome. At the end of the course, we expect the students will able to explain the importance of amplitude and digital modulation, demodulation schemes, analyze analog communication systems for their signal to noise ratio, efficiency and bandwidth, compare the advantage of various pulse modulation technique and analyze their system performance, demonstrate signal representation, analyze various digital communication techniques, can compute the bit error performance and compare their advantages and limitations. So these are the points we expect that students will able to demonstrate or explain or analyze or compute or compare. So all these things will make the students mastermind on this subject. There are 5 modules for this subject, and for each of the subject there are some contact hours limited to complete. There are 6 contact hours assigned to module 1 for introductory descriptions. For the module 2, random process has 6 contact hours. 3 contact hours assigned to module 3 on pulse modulation, 8 contact hours assigned to signal vector representation under module 4. In module 5, digital modulation technique has 13 contact hours. So total 13 plus 8 plus 3 plus 6 plus 6. So total 36 contact hours exist for the completion of analog digital communication systems. For like every subject has prerequisite, here is also the knowledge of signal vector representation, characteristics of additive wide Gaussian noise, geometric representation of signals, synthesizer, analyzer, signal vector, signal space, Euclidean space are required. Signals and systems is a subject which is covered in earlier semester, has many things to recall for the analog and digital communication system. So signal and system is an important subject before understanding analog and digital communication. Still there are mathematics, that is engineering mathematics covered up to 3rd semester, has plenty of mathematical equations such as the Fourier transformation, Laplace transformation. So those things are required to understand, as well as trigonometric applications are required for analog and digital communication. Statistical part will be revised here. So that is why if the basic statistical part required, it is needed to be recapitulated. Now these are the course outcome versus program outcome mapping. Now as the analog and digital communication has plenty of application in the domain of information technology, that is why we are finding there are almost all the program outcome has minimum contribution to one or more course outcome. The course outcome weightage 3 is given for high weightage, 2 weightage is given for moderate weightage, and 1 value is written, that is the numerical value 1 is given for least weightage to some program outcome. And if there is no such linkage, then it is kept blank. Now as the basic mathematics related, that is why it has high weightage to program outcome 1 and program outcome 2. Also it is dealing with several project oriented work, because in communication system various basic modulator, demodulator, as well as quantizer, equalizer, many circuits, basic circuits are utilized for the communication system. That is why it is also related to implementation of project. There are various projects which could be implemented using a communication circuitry. Also, there are various mathematical equations required to reduce the noise addition to the transmitted signal. So transmitted signal are prone to noise. That is why noise elimination is one of the most important factor for analog and digital communication. Here the differences of analog and digital communication will be taught, and thereby students will understand how digital communication dominates over analog communication, but cannot avoid analog communication for the transmission of digital signals through wireless medium. So that is why various project related as well as seminar conferences, English languages, all are related and has weightage, as well as it has lifelong learning uh, because students may target for circuit implementation, that is their dream project may be implemented later. So that is why lifelong learning is also having higher weightage for each of the outcome. The course objective for analog and digital communication is to familiarize students with the fundamentals of analog and digital communication system, because analog communication is the primary communication system, thereafter digital communication has come. So comparison as well as their foundation knowledge required to be transmitted to the student, to provide students with tools and for communication signal analysis. So there are various mathematical tools, simulators that will be provided to students to better understand about the application of such tools, to familiarize students with various techniques for amplitude modulation and demodulation of analog signals, to develop the students' ability to determine the effects of receiver frequency and phase errors in synchronous modulation systems. So phase error or magnitude error are critical cases which will be studied under these objectives. To familiarize students with techniques for generating and demodulating narrowband and wideband frequency and phase modulated signals, to familiarize students with the basic techniques for generating and demodulating pulse code modulated signals, to familiarize students with issues pertaining to the transmission of digital signals over bandwidth limited communication channels. So with this we will start the analog and digital communication system. Hello, this is analog and digital communication, and today we are discussing signal vector representation, module 4. The topics to be discussed here are maximum likelihood detection assumptions, signal vector versus received vector, job of the receiver, maximum a posteriori probability rule, likelihood functions, and decision zones in a two-dimensional signal space. Here the maximum likelihood detection assumptions are stated. So before going to discuss about the maximum likelihood assumptions, let us find out what is the maximum likelihood detection. Actually, in case of binary transmission, there are two types of binary information. One is logic 0, another is logic 1. So when they are transmitted, there is a false interpretation at the receiving end. That is, sometimes 0 is assumed as 1 and 1 is assumed as 0. So this type of error are commonly termed as type 0 error and type 1 error. That is, logic 0 error is known as type 1 error, and logic 1 error is type 2 error. So there are two types of error. So these two types of error can be recovered by means of maximum likelihood function, and in which we can assume that the number of information bearing signals designed after the Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization procedure is m, and one of these m signals is received from additive white Gaussian noise channel, in which time slot is t second. So let the message to be denoted by m suffix I for I equal to 1, 2 up to m.
because here we are considering the message symbols are comprising of few number of bits. So therefore, if there is capital M number of symbol, then it could be represented by there is each of the symbol can be represented by few number of bits. So all the symbols are equiprobable. This is another assumption. This is not a grave assumption, since if the input message probabilities are different and known, and they can be incorporated following Bayesian approach. Also, the additive white Gaussian noise process with a mean equal to 0 and a double-sided power spectrum density is n0 by 2. Let the Wt denote the noise sample function over the period t is greater than 0, less than capital T. And here is the constellation, typical constellation shown for the signal vector. So this is the general theory for the representation of signal. That is, in digital communication, we should have the representation of signal in this graphical manner. This is known as signal space representation. Now this is important because there are multiple signals available depending on each of the symbols produced for digital communication. So SI is the signal vector, and there is a possible noise magnitude can be assumed that SI is contaminated with noise, which produces the received vector R. Now this amount of contamination should have a limit, otherwise the signal may not be recovered at the receiving end. So therefore, we are assuming that signal is added with noise and that is producing the resulting vector R, and there should not have any other signal within this territory, so that the resulting vector will be falsely interpreted with the other symbol. So therefore, there should have a region properly specified so that signals are well separated from other signals, and at the receiving end, though they are contaminated, if it is residing in a specific decision boundary, then we can take the decision in favor of that symbol. So that is why one problem is coming out from this discussion, that is, if there is a multiple symbols, there is number of symbol if increased, what will happen? Yes, if number of symbol is increased, then the distance between the successive symbol or adjacent symbol will be decreased, and in such a case the amount of noise contaminating a particular symbol required to have a lower limit. If it is increasing, then it is really difficult to extract the information at the receiving end. So therefore, the number of symbol if increased, we need to find out the possible amount of noise contamination that should be as low as possible. Then there is no harm of increasing the number of symbol. Now, what is the job of the receiver? In the receiving end, the receiver has to filter whatever is the received signal, because it will eliminate the additive noise component, and thereafter it has to take the decision in favor of the symbol. That means it has to compare the incoming symbol with the threshold value, and if the decision is made, then that means if a confirmed voltage level has been identified, then the decision is made in favor of that symbol. So here the maximum a posteriori probability rule has been stated. So this is one of the important approach for the maximum likelihood principle. So the principle of maximum likelihood detection provides a general solution to this problem and leads naturally to the structure of an optimum receiver. Then when the receiver takes a decision that the predicted sample is equal to the original message sample, the associated probability of symbol decision error may be expressed as probability of error within bracket the parameters of the transmitted message symbol, that is actual transmitted message symbol, and the received vector. So that is equal to probability of decision on receiving vector R that mi was transmitted, and probability that mi is not sent under the received vector R is equal to 1 minus probability that mi sent and receive vector R. So therefore they are complementary in nature. There is mi not sent and mi sent are complementary in nature, and they are complementary within the unity. That is, one fraction is telling that mi is not sent, another fraction within the unity is telling the mi is sent. So in the above probability of mi not sent under the received vector R denote the probability that mi was not transmitted while R is received. So an optimum decision rule may heuristically be framed as set m cap equal to mi. That means set the predicted uh, or a decision in favor of message symbol, that is m cap equal to mi, can be taken if the probability of mi sent under the received vector R, if it is greater than or equal to probability of mk sent under the received vector R. So for the k is not equal to I, we can consider this relation. For practical convenience, we invoke Bayes rule to obtain an equivalent statement of optimum decision rule in terms of the a priori probability. So therefore probability, a priori probability if is nothing but the probability of the symbol before it's transmitted. So probability that mi has been sent under the received vector R multiplied by the probability that the received vector has been received. So probability of received vector is equal to probability that of the received vector provided that mi has been sent multiplied by probability of the message symbol. So PR within bracket mi slash R means a posteriori probability of mi given. That means you are determining probability of mi after the signal has been received. So that is why it is known as a posteriori. But probability of R and provided that mi has been sent is a priori probability. So therefore, and this is the decision boundary which clearly shows that there are two symbols, that is S1 signals S1 and S2 corresponding to symbols M1 and M2, and the decision boundary zones are given. Z1 and Z2 are the two zones where the decision boundary in between shows the specific region of determining the symbol S1 and S2. So therefore, if the receiving signal is residing on one side of the decision boundary, then we can take the decision in favor of a particular symbol. Suppose S1, when received, if the noise contaminated with S1 has deflected its resulting vector into some other point, and if it is residing on the same side where S1 is residing, then the decision is not wrong because decision will be taken in favor of S1. But if it is happening that the resulting vector is residing on another side of the region where S1 is not present, then the decision will be taken in favor of S2, because here are two symbols, one is S1 and another is S2, and in between there is a decision boundary. So decision boundary is an important line. On one side of that line, whatever vector is present, decision is taken in favor of that vector. So therefore the noise required to be reduced in such that a symbol residing on one side of decision region, if a corresponding vector has been received, the resulting vector also has to reside on that region. Thank you.